Yo, Isaac Mashman here. What is going on? In today's video, I want to go over some of the things that you need to think about before launching your new podcast. This isn't a step-by-step on how to set up hosting and distribution and all of those finer details. I can record a video on that down the road, but I want to have a heart-to-heart conversation with you. So over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to go over some of the things you need to think about and take into consideration before you go out of your way and buy some fancy mic and become a talking head on TikTok. These are things that you really need to analyze and understand about yourself and about your intentions so you can get results and success for the long haul. It's really important to note that most people never pass 20 episodes or 20 listeners per episode. That is a statistic. And I don't want you to be another statistic. I want you to go into this with the long term in mind and think about it. Joe Rogan has been doing his show, The Joe Rogan Experience, for over a decade. He's probably by now done 2,000 to 3,000 episodes. I know he's probably nearing that 3,000 episode mark. He's turned it into a full-time business, a full-time gig. I mean, a couple years ago, he signed a 9-figure deal with Spotify, and I believe that renewed. So I don't think that you're going to necessarily get that result overnight, but you should also be thinking about taking it serious enough to where you can start to see those results. You know, Andrew Carnegie, in one of his essays years and years ago, said that most people place all of their eggs in a bunch of different baskets when they need to put all of their eggs in one basket and watch that. And I kind of believe in that. I believe you should focus on one business vehicle before you start 25 other business vehicles. You know, they say that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Well, tell you what, most all of those people started with one stream, and as that stream scaled, expanded out. And your podcast is the same exact thing. You don't need to start 25 different podcasts for 25 different subjects, and you shouldn't start a new show just because you're 20 or 25 episodes in and you're not seeing thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads. That kind of thinking will get you nowhere, and it'll be this vicious, repetitive cycle. When I launched my podcast, Chase the Vision with Isaac Mashman, way back in I think it was 2019, it was launched underneath a different name. I went into it with the long term in mind. Now, I crossed 100 episodes and decided to end my show. So again, you could blame me and say, Isaac, you didn't even stick it out long enough. And I would agree with you. But I made the conscious decision because I wanted to make a massive pivot from the conversation and the tone of that podcast to something new, which is leading me into my new show that I'm launching before the end of 2024. Not here to talk about all that. But what I am here to talk about is that I saw a lot of the same mistakes time and time again from these people that would start a show. And these aren't things that you would really want to openly talk about, right? Saying, oh, you know, hey, I'm supposed to promote this show. I'm supposed to promote my podcast and take pride in it, but nobody else is listening. So how can I take pride in something that other people aren't even enjoying or sharing themselves? And I don't want you to be discouraged by that fact, but I want you to really understand why you are wanting to launch a podcast. Now, I believe that there are 3 main reasons why you would want to build your personal brand, and it's the same thing for launching a podcast. There are 3 reasons. Number 1 is money. You want to make money from your show. And there are so many phenomenal marketing vehicles and monetization vehicles and paths to making money with your show, but it will not happen overnight. You won't sign a 9-figure sponsorship. You won't land a massive deal, a massive affiliate deal. And even then, if you become an affiliate and you might only be making $5 per sale, the way that you generate income is at scale. And so you're relying on your show to reach more people. And that's scary too, because now you're going up and taking this uphill battle. And so look, I know what I'm saying might be a little, I suppose, pessimistic, but I'm not talking to you as some, head in the clouds guru saying that you can all of a sudden become successful overnight. That's not how I operate. I'm actually quite optimistic because I know that there is a step-by-step process that you can take in order to see those results compound, but it will take you time to get there. The second reason why you want to launch a show is for mission. Maybe you're driven by some idea of philanthropy, right? Or philanthropic purpose, rather. You want to drive awareness to a cause. You want to share your message to the world. That is wonderful. But even then, if you're taking that path and you're not focusing on monetization, how are you funding your show? How are you getting episodes edited? How are you purchasing equipment? How are you, running advertisements to that show or hiring somebody to help you with it? So again, you do need to start thinking about monetizing, even if that podcast is mission focused. And now the third reason, which you're probably not going to fall underneath this category, but if you're in the entertainment space and you want to launch a show that is primarily entertaining, you might be driven by a little bit of vanity. You want to be well known just because, and you see podcasting as a vehicle to allow more people to know about you. And let's just be real, being known, being respected, being, a celebrity, it feels good. And so, again, whether your motivating purpose is money, mission, or vanity, you need to understand what is driving you, because then you can take it to heart, process it, and say, all right, how can I make that goal? How can I make that thing become my reality? And so now you reverse engineer the steps to get there. And so before you ever launch your podcast and you ever make that decision, understand what is motivating and driving you, and then you need to set a long-term goal, a long-term outlook here. If you're only going to go into it and do episodes for 3 months and say to yourself, hey, Isaac, I'm going to give myself 90 days. If I'm not at 100,000 listeners, I'm ending my show. You're bound to fail. You need to go into it with at least a 12-month outlook in mind. Say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to launch my show. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a whirl. I'll do an episode every single week. By the end of the year, that's 50 to 52 episodes. I think I can do that. And then you can reevaluate what's going on. But I can promise you that if you are consistent with your podcast, you're consistent with your promotion, and you're consistent with your messaging, you're going to be able to take that show and by the end of a year, get a consistent listenership that are coming to your show. And then when that happens, you're going to notice that those numbers stay consistent and that you understand that if you end your show, you are doing those people that are coming back to your show time and time again a massive disservice by basically abruptly ending it. And that will lead you to stay consistent with it and to go for it for another 12 months and then another 12 months and then another. And so these massive goals that you're setting for yourself will take time to accomplish. And so I don't want you to get discouraged, but I also don't want you to have your head in the clouds and think that it's not working because of you and because, you're not good enough. Yes, you should constantly be evaluating how well you're speaking and be able to enunciate properly and convey your message properly and in a manner that is understandable and clear and concise. But chances are your show isn't growing because you're not doing it long enough and you're not promoting it enough. And so just like a business, and I compare building your personal brand to a business, and I'll compare your podcast to a business because it is, especially if you're making money with it, you need to look for ways to get maximum exposure, to get maximum monetization, and to build a really solid group of listeners. And so whether you want to take this down a niche road and only focus on underwater basket weaving, that's an example of a merit badge that we used to joke around in Boy Scouts about, or you want to talk about true crime, you want to talk about conspiracies, you want to talk about business and self-improvement. Now, when I say self-improvement in business, I don't want you to be, again, one of those talking heads and just because you have a microphone, everybody should listen to you. It's not the case. But if you can provide not just value, but strategic value, that will allow people to really latch onto what you have going on. And so now you can stand out all the more. And so to summarize this video, if you're wanting to launch a podcast, you need to, number one, understand what is your driving force, money, mission, vanity. You need to understand what your long-term goal is. Go into it with at least 12 months in mind. And then number three, you need to treat it like a business and to consistently be looking for areas of improvement and ways that you can make it better and ways that you can get more people to know about what you have going on. These are the things that you really need to understand before you ever launch your first podcast. Don't focus on the equipment. Don't focus on all the smaller details. You can find somebody to help you with that. You could hire somebody. You could use ChatGPT to help you with those first steps. But more importantly than any of that, you need to understand the psychology of it. When you understand the psychology of it, all the other details, the path, so to speak, the Dorothy's yellow brick road will show itself, and you'll be able to take that next step towards actually taking that idea from your brain and turning it into your reality. I'm Isaac Mashman. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, all of that good stuff, and share this with somebody that has talked to you about launching a podcast before, but they haven't quite taken that first step.